lobby, a nursing mother caught me staring. And I didn't know what the appropriate facial expression was for that. I kept on staring and staring and staring, and then I just kind of got locked into that like a time warp.
Well, the tide has turned mercilessly for the golden couple of Hollywood. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have had high hashtag couple gold status, but now an old video of Ryan has made a return to haunt them. And it kinda makes Blake's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni look so much worse. Like, really, really worse. I know what you're thinking. What now? So Blake Lively is suing her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, claiming that he made her feel uncomfortable while she was pumping breast milk. Sounds kinda serious, right? But there's just one thing. Her husband admitted to staring shamelessly at a breastfeeding mom for way too long.
Later, in federal court, Blake sued Justin, his production company, and his PR team for sexual harassment and unconscionable retaliation. Blake says Justin, It Ends With Us's producer Jamie Heath, and Justin's PR team conspired and launched a damaging smear campaign that hurt her career and earnings.
Okay, let's talk about the lawsuit. If you haven't heard, she's taking Justin Baldoni to court for what she alleged as uncomfortable behavior during the time she was pumping breast milk on set. She said he was in the room when she was pumping, and even though he wasn't trying to look, she still felt very uncomfortable. It's understandable, right? Personal space is kind of important, yeah?
Start with Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times. The Times, as Liz just pointed out there, has said they're going to vigorously defend their reporting. Walk us through what each side would need to prove here.
Baldoni and the other plaintiffs need to prove that the Times made false statements and that they either knew the statements were false or recklessly disregarded the falsity of those statements.
But here comes the twist. Justin Baldoni's not taking that lying down. Nah, he countered that with his own lawsuit alleging Blake had invited him into the room while the media twisted the story against him.
Present in the room are Lively's nanny, makeup artist, and assistant, while Lively is having body makeup removed. She was not topless, as she claimed in her complaint. She was either nursing or pumping while fully clothed. Lively asked Heath to face the wall while they determined a time to meet with the other producers, who were standing just outside the door. Weeks later, on June 1st, 2023, Lively accuses Heath of making eye contact with her while she had asked him to face the wall.
And there you have it, a full-blown Hollywood drama, accusations against anybody and everybody, lawsuits on both ends, and the internet taking sides. But then something happened that blew the whole situation up for Blake and Ryan. An old clip of Ryan Reynolds just resurfaced, and oh man, it did not age well at all. In the video, Ryan tells a story about how he saw a random woman breastfeeding in a hotel lobby, and he just kept staring and staring and staring. He even admits that he had no idea what to do, so he just didn't stop.
Elsie on here, top investigator for finding this clip.
I'd probably like to go back to this morning. In the hotel lobby, a nursing mother caught me staring. And I didn't know what the appropriate facial expression was for that. I kept on staring and staring and staring, and then I just kind of got locked into that like a time warp.
Yikes. Ryan pretty much admitted to doing the same thing that Blake is mad at Justin Baldoni about. The catch? Ryan was bragging about it, and Justin was accused. So when Justin Baldoni is accused of looking at Blake's direction while she's pumping, a lawsuit's filed. But when Ryan Reynolds practically admits to staring at a breastfeeding mama, his becomes a funny little story? Huh. Can somebody make this make sense?
So, Mr. Reynolds, I would like us to go back in time, find that nursing mother breastfeeding her baby while you stood there and stared. You just didn't know what to do. I would like to get that woman some fucking compensation. It's okay when you do it. It's a problem when other people do it. Interesting. You just stood there and stared because you didn't know what to do.
Well, naturally, the internet wasted no time calling him out. People are pointing out the double standard. If Blake finds his behavior unacceptable on set, why is it okay for her husband to brag about doing the same thing?
So this lady caught you staring at her, and what did you do? Just continue to keep staring at her. You decided not to look away. So Ryan Reynolds can go on the internet and admit to staring at a stranger while she's breastfeeding. Like, that is weird. It's just weird to stare at anyone breastfeeding, but especially a stranger.
Some people are making the argument that this shows that the lawsuit by Blake isn't about principle, it's about power. And honestly, these people might have a point.
In Blake Lively's lawsuit, she was noting how uncomfortable she was because Heath and Baldoni would walk in on her while she was breastfeeding. However, we now have receipts from Justin showing that she would invite him into her trailer while she was pumping.
Meanwhile, Justin's legal team is gathering evidence to substantiate that he did not do anything wrong and that the accusations coming by Blake don't hold water. Also, they pointed out that Blake invited him into the room, hence entirely changing the narrative of the story.
In June of 2023, Lively apparently invited Baldoni to her trailer while she was breastfeeding, and that suggests this ongoing sense of intimacy and ease. And she is the one who introduced these uncomfortable situations, because that text reads, "I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out lines."
And let's not forget Ryan Reynolds' role in all of this. So now the question is, will he respond to his former comments? Does his career now join the list? Ryan's built up this whole persona around being likable, sarcastic, and being a self-aware guy. But would that be ruined if people started to see him as a hypocritical instead? And Blake? She's always been held up as intelligent and composed, while this lawsuit's going to raise some questions about if she's playing the role of a victim. Public sentiment counts for a lot in Hollywood. Fans can be forgiving, but they've got really long memories. This kind of scandal could overshadow all of the other projects that Ryan and Blake would be seen in. Hollywood has known very big stars to fall from grace for less. Ryan's always remained in the books of public admiration, being the charming, quick-witted, and carefree Deadpool actor. But even now, the natural question is if this so-called humor is a thin guise for hypocrisy. If he would have never brought up that whole breastfeeding story, maybe this whole thing wouldn't be such a big deal. But he chose to tell that story in public. He thought it was funny, and that's what makes it worse.
Claims Lively had established early on that it was acceptable to be present while Lively was breastfeeding. Both Heath and Baldoni have children and are comfortable around breastfeeding mothers, and Lively seemed equally comfortable. In fact, Baldoni's wife co-founded a company that made a breastfeeding garment. Notably, breastfeeding was an activity that she often conducted openly in the presence of Heath and Baldoni.
This puts Blake in an even more awkward position. Her lawsuit depends on people believing that she was truly uncomfortable and that her accusations against Baldoni were serious. But how can she expect people to rally behind her when her husband did the same thing and she never called him out for it?
Would you like this woman to come back in time and sue you now? Or is your wife being ridiculous? Tell us which one is facts. I'll wait.
Now, one major question being raised is whether Blake even knew about Ryan's old comments before this lawsuit. If she did, why did she still go ahead with it? Did she think that nobody would notice the contradiction? Or did she just assume that her case was strong enough that people wouldn't care? Either way, this does not make her look good. So, what changes now? Blake's lawsuit is still in progress, and Justin Baldoni is not giving in. And with that Ryan clip circulating, things just got a whole lot messier for these two. Now, one thing's for sure, this is not the kind of attention that Blake and Ryan were hoping for. But will they address the backlash? Will this affect their reputations? Only time's gonna tell on that one.